If you're a Yu-Gi-Oh collector, you're probably familiar with the English version of the game, the TCG or trading card game. But today we're going to deep dive into some of the earliest cards of the Japanese version of the game, the OCG or official card game. I'm going to share with you in full the binder I've been working on since I went to Japan last year, containing cards that some of which are over 20 years old. Now, as you may remember in my previous collection video, I did discuss that when it comes to the OCG, I mainly only collect the Series 1 and Series 2 layout Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And for those of you that don't know, the way to distinguish between Series 1, Series 2 and then future layouts is that the Series 1 layout looks a little bit like this. And as you can see on the bottom right hand corner where the attack and defense is, there are 3 kanji beside representing attack and defense in Japanese. You'll also notice at the bottom right hand corner there is no Eye of Anubis hollow foil. But when we get into the Series 2 cards, they do look very similar, but the distinct difference is that there is an Eye of Anubis at the bottom right hand corner, and you'll notice where the attack and defense are, there is only 1 kanji representing the attack and defense. And now that that's been explained, let's get into the binder. So as you can see here, my Japanese binder collection is stored in this red 9-pocket Card Guardian binder. So let's get into the sets. As we open, you can see there are some spaces, so we're going to basically go through all of the different sets that I have organised. Cards that may be missing, but then also explaining why I've put things in a certain order. I may have missed cards, or there may be certain cards still to collect. And I can obviously rearrange certain aspects if I decide, or come across any cards that might be missing from my checklist. So getting into the cards, as you can see, the very first page contains some spaces, but does include this Magician of Black Chaos, which is one of my favourite cards of all time, purely because it is, I think, the first printing of this card. And this did come from the Tokyo Dome attendees cards in 1999. Now, some of these will be assigned separately, so the missing card here on the left hand side is actually Gate Guardian, so hopefully I can pick up that soon. It's not too expensive. These obviously were the attendee cards, so a lot of them were handed out despite it being so long ago. There were prize cards as well, but obviously I don't expect to actually attain those considering the price and rarity. And this is the first example of some compromises you have to make with a binder like this. You have to see what's feasible to collect, especially if it's within your budget or not. So after this, we get into the Japanese version of Forbidden Memories. So I don't know if you remember playing Forbidden Memories as a kid. It was a PlayStation 1 game, and it did have some promo cards with it. They were FMR in English. That was for the set code. And for this one, you can see we only have 1 card at the moment. So we do have this Harpy's Pet Dragon, which, to be fair, out of the 5 cards, which are all in the white sleeves here, it is one of my favourite. Now, the other cards that we are missing from here are Zoa, Metal Zoa, Red Eyes Black Metal Dragon, and Metal Morph. So I will pick those up at some point. But the main reason there at the beginning of the binder here is, as you can see, they are Series 1 layout cards, no Eye of Anubis, and 3 kanji. And one other aspect of this worth noting is that if you compare English cards to the Japanese cards, the actual art box, so the square size on the actual card, is much larger than in the English versions, which is one of the biggest reasons why I actually like the OCG cards more than the TCG cards, because it's more about the artwork, as well as with the Series 1 and Series 2 box layout for the attack and defense, it does kind of give you that more anime feel, like the cards they were actually using in the TV show. So we get into our second page here, and as you can see, we have a few more cards here in the red sleeves. Now, these are Japanese Dark Duel Stories or DDS cards, so as you can see, there's a few missing again here. One of the main cards from this set is Perfectly Ultimate Great Moth, which I do need to pick up, but we have some nice ones here, especially Harpy's Feather Duster, which is super nice, ultra rare. And as you can see here, the artwork is much larger, and if you look where the text is, this box is much smaller if you know what an English card looks like. Same again if we look at Kunai with Chain. Similar layout, really large image, and hollow foil on that is sick. So after those 2 really old game promo cards, we're going to get into the premium packs. Now, the premium packs run numerically, so beginning with Premium Pack 1, we have a Parallel Secret Rare Time Wizard, which is just one of my favourite cards from this. Now, the Secret Rare foiling on the OCG stuff is just second to none in my opinion. It's just super nice, that Time Wizard. And one thing you'll also notice as well is these don't actually have any set codes. It is later that they get set codes, and you'll actually see this through Premium Pack. And we turn into the last card of this set, which is Exodia, obviously being hollows only. So as you can see here, there is no set code just above where the attack and defense are, but that will be there on some future releases. As you can see, it's a slightly different artwork here, It's going to make a pentagram. If you didn't know, a lot of the Japanese cards are actually a lot more uncensored in terms of their sort of religious references or clothing. And then we get into Premium Pack 2. Now, Premium Pack 2 is actually only 8 cards long, and as you can see, when we get into the yellow sleeve, there's a lot more cards than that. That is because there was an extended version released just after that called Dark Ceremony, which did include the Premium Pack 2 cards and also had some extras as well. So the first 8 cards on this set include Blackluster Soldier, which is absolutely beautiful. As you can see, some cards will say replica here. This is just if they were a reprint, not that they are fake or anything like that. One of the classic artworks of all time, this one. As you can see, this is very ritual based, so there's lots of ritual monsters in blue with then their magic cards or spell cards to go with them. So right up to Zera Ritual is where Premium Pack 2 ends, and then these are the extra cards which are included in Dark Ceremony. Then moving into Premium Pack 3, as you can see, there's multiple versions of cards here, and I'll explain why that is. But some of my favourite cards again are in this set. So you've got the likes of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon and Magician of Black Chaos, as well as one of the most underrated cards in my opinion, which is Serpent Knight Dragon. The Magic Ruler version of that card is one of my favourites in the English sets. But this is where they started to introduce different rarities into Premium Pack. So Premium Pack will have your standard super rares, but it also had something called a super parallel rare, and it's quite good because I have multiple of certain cards, which means I can actually show you the difference. So you'll be used to seeing a regular super rare like this, normal foiling on the image itself, no text. And if we look at the Magician of Black Chaos, this time similar foiling, but as you can see, the parallel on the entire card. Had to get these for some of my favourite cards in this one for sure. Also note, this is where we start to see set codes. So P307 means you can start to actually identify what cards are what, especially if you're trying to search for them online if you want to buy them. Then into Premium Pack 4, this is where we start to see some of Yugi's favourite cards. So we have P401, which is Dark Magician Girl, and then the Arcana version of Dark Magician. So it's almost like this is based around that episode, because you can see some of the cards are used. Thousand Knives, you've got Mystic Box, we've got Dark Magic Ritual here, Magic Cylinder. All of these were used in that episode, so you can see how the cards in the sets start to theme with the anime itself. Then into Premium Pack 5, again with some of these I do either have the parallel rare or just the regular super rare, so sometimes it'll vary. It just obviously depended what I picked up in Japan at the time. But some classics here, like if we look at this Crush Card Virus, super nice artwork on that one. P503, and again the nice pink sleeves to go with it. Now that's the end of the premium packs, and this is where we get into the actual booster sets that you'd be maybe a bit more familiar with versus the English version of these. So here we have the LB set code, which is Legend of Blue Eyes. These actually are a reprint set from the original volume versions of these cards. But at the time, these reprint sets essentially allowed people to get hold of these cards. One of my favourite cards from the set being Celtic Guardian, again in Secret Rare. You can't really go wrong with these, do you know what I mean, as a collector. And then of course the SDY print of the Dark Magician. Now just look how large that artwork is compared to the card that you maybe had when you were a child. It's huge on the card. Honestly makes you feel like you're using it in the anime. We have Flame Swordsman. I still need to get the Blue Eyes from this set, and then there's a few other ones missing from there. And as we come round, it finishes with Polymerization. And after that, that's when we get into Phantom God. This is obviously a set that wasn't in the English TCG, but they did end up splitting up certain cards between sets, so there was maybe more sets released in Japan than there was in English. So as you can see, if you look at the likes of Mystical Elf, Red Eyes Black Dragon, Curse of Dragon, Guy the Dragon Champion, you can see those are cards that were in Legend of Blue Eyes as well, but this has been split into almost a second set, as well as Monster Reborn alternate art from what we have in English, and another version of Exodia, all the Exodia pieces being in this one. And this version of Exodia is actually Secret Rare, so again, it's one of the nicest versions. This is definitely my favourite rarity of Yu-Gi-Oh cards, especially in Japanese. Like the card stock and just the look of it is just incredible. Continue with the reprint sets, we get into RB. Again, some lovely cards in this one, including Parallel Ultra Rare, Summon Skull, one of my favourite artworks in the whole of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we continue through some of the cards used in Duelist Kingdom. So you've got the likes of Black Skull Dragon here, you've got the pieces of Gate Guardian, as well as Magician of Faith and Change of Heart. Then we get into Metal Raiders, which has some lovely cards again. So we've got the likes of Thousand Dragon, Garnecia Elephantis. Now, I do have some gap fillers like this, for example. So if you look at this Great Moth, as you can see, it is Secret Rare. There is no set code on there, and there is no Ivan Anubis. And obviously it has the 3 kanji as well. So this isn't actually the version from this set, but there is a Great Moth in this set. This is just one of the versions I picked up, so it is a bit of a gap filler at the moment. But this would have been one of the original prints, probably came from one of the volumes. So it is super nice to have this one, and I'll be able to put that elsewhere whenever I start to collect those cards as well. And then on from Metal Raiders, we go into Magic Ruler. Again, this is quite complete here. There's only a few spaces left. We've got the likes of Gazelle, Slot Machine. Then into Pharaoh's Servant, and everybody's favourite, Blue Eyes Toon Dragon. Again, in that beautiful secret rare. I'm moving into Curse of Anubis, so we've got the likes of Jinzo here, we've got Buster Blader. You can see that Buster Blader is popping with that parallel ultra rare. Like, look at that. It's absolutely amazing. It's almost like what a lot of the rarities that are coming out at the moment, but the Japanese were just doing it so long ago. Quite a trap heavy set, this one. And then following that we get into Thousand Eyes Bible, which has the likes of Shift in there, Monster Recovery. And then following that we get into Spell of Mask. Now Spell of Mask is quite an important set here because, as you can see, the first card in the set is the Mask Beast Ritual card, SM00. Now, if you're a big Yu-Gi-Oh fan, you may have heard the Japanese card SM51, which is the ultimate rare Blue Eyes White Dragon. Probably one of the rarest and most expensive Blue Eyes that you can get, and it is, in my opinion, the nicest version because I do have a big love for ultimate rares. But you will notice that with the binder so far, we don't actually have the ultimate rares in here, as those will be essentially a separate collection. Continuing Spell of Mask, we obviously have a lot of the mask-based cards. And then into Labyrinth of Nightmare, which includes another fan favourite, Dark Necrofear. Then into another set you wouldn't have heard of, which is Struggle of Chaos. Obviously not necessarily a print in English, but does contain some cards from the other sets which haven't been combined. Mythological Age in the white sleeves here, which does have some gaps, so I do need to fill that one up. And then into Pharaonic Guardian. This is when we start to get towards the end of our sets. Following on from this, you can see there is a lot of nostalgia on this page. So these cards here in the orange sleeves on the left are actually versions from the starter box. This is essentially a set that got people started with a couple of decks, and these are essentially the holos from these. There was an EX reprint version, which I think some of these are, because some of these will have the 3 kanjis, no Ivan Anubis, whereas some will have the Ivan Anubis and actually have a set code of EX. Again, this can be a bit of a mishmash of versions from the different sets, and I will get the rarest version as and when I can. Side note, they did actually reprint the starter box EX, which you can pick up in Japan. I did get one, but of course I'll be keeping that one sealed. On the theme of decks, this is where we start to go with the binder. So as you can see, there's 3 red sleeves, 3 purple sleeves, and 3 green. This is where we start to look at the holos from the Yugi structure deck, then the Kaiba structure deck, then the Joey structure deck, and then following on from that, we have Pegasus as well. There was a side set in conjunction with the booster sets, including Legend of Blue Eyes, which was Booster Chronicle. These are some cards for this one. So we've got the likes of Axe Raider here, Graceful Charity. Then we start to get into some of our promos. So as you can see, there's one card here isolated with the gold sleeve around it, and that is an alternate art version of the Flame Swordsman. And this one was released as the official starter book promo. So I'll let you have a look at that one. Super nice. I am a sucker for an alternate art, and as you can see, this was quite an old card, Series 1 layout. Then we have our V-Jump promos here, which includes Cyber Harpy, a couple missing from that one. And then following on, I was trying to work out exactly what this set was, but then I did realise it is the limited edition packs. So if you go to Japan and you actually find the packs, it's essentially a set of packs with Yugi, Kaiba and Joey's faces on them, and then there's a limited edition 2 and a limited edition 3. So this is the first set of Kaiba, Joey and Yugi cards, and then we get into the cards that I actually do have, which is limited edition pack 2. So we've got some Yugi cards here, Joey and Bandit Keith. And then following on from that, this is where we see the set code L3. I actually have all of the cards from limited edition pack 3. Some really nice alternate arts in there, like Summon Skull, Lajin, Panther Warrior. And I've always loved this one, if anyone remembers Copycat from Jewel's Kingdom. Such a nostalgic card, that one. We then have another card by itself, and that one is Multiply. Now Multiply is from a 1000 Rule Bible promo card. So that one's by itself again, and then we get back into some more joint promos. So this set here is actually the Valuable Book promo. So you can see lots of effect monsters. We've got the likes of Rocket Warrior here. And then those follow into all of our game promos. There's lots of game promos here, some of which mirror the TCG game promos that we're used to, but it seems they are slightly different. So for example, if you look at the Magnet Warriors here, there's only 2 of them in this set, which is G3, and we do know all 3 Magnet Warriors come as a trio in the DOR set code in the English TCG. Got the likes of Insect Queen here, Sinister Serpent, all in G3, and then into the white sleeves we've got G4, which is more game promos. Again, G4 contains the other 2 Magnet Warriors, so we've got Gamma and Valkyrian. Now G5 is where some of my favourite cards in my whole binder exist, and that includes the likes of Dark Sage in Parallel Secret Rare. If you look at that, such an unbelievable looking card. We also have Big Shield Gardener, again in the same rarity. You just can't beat the nostalgic cards in this format. And as we get into the final page here, this is where we get into the final game promos, which is G6, including Des Voldskalf, Toon Dark Magician Girl, which is just unbelievable. And then to finish off the binder, we actually have the weekly Shonen Jump promos. So you can see some of them here are in the Series 2 layout, and there are just some fillers at the end. These are cards I want to keep and are involved in the Shonen Jump promos. But this is where it finishes for the Series 1 and Series 2 binder. An absolutely beautiful collection that I've acquired over the past year. One thing the end of the binder didn't include, which I didn't show you, was the G4 God cards. Now I did actually pick these up raw and graded them myself, and I'm not sure what PSA were smoking that day, but they didn't get great grades. I'm probably going to crack them out and actually put them back in the binder, but I do have these as part of the collection. So as you can see here, we do have a near mint 7 of Slifer the Sky Dragon. Then we have Obelisk the Tormentor in excellent to mint 6. And finally, we have the Winged Dragon of Ra in an excellent 5. So I'm not really sure. We could inspect these cards forever and still not understand how PSA came to this conclusion, but that is for a different video. I do have these for the collection, and they absolutely remain a staple. So I hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into my Japanese Series 1 and Series 2 OCG binder. I'm by no means an expert in this kind of stuff, but I am learning as I go, and I am enjoying the collection that I'm managing to put together. Let me know in the comments below if there are certain cards I'm missing or certain cards I should be adding to the collection. I don't know about you, I think the binder is looking sick, and hopefully it shared some cards with you that you've never seen before and maybe inspires you to want to collect. Let me know what other aspects of the collection you'd like to see in future videos. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for looking.